Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Wilujeng Sumping. We would like to welcome you back in the joint lecture Social Design 3.0, Pengembangan Program SDGs Desa di Indonesia, Adaptasi Model Sosial Desain dalam Pembangunan Masyarakat di Jepang, in Balde Sawala Universitas Pajajaran Jatinangor. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the next session of the lecture, allow me to review what we had on the previous session. Before, we have discussed regarding the SDGs Village Development Policies in Indonesia with Dr. Insinyur Joko Hartoyo, MRSC, and Mr. Ali STMSI, and also Professor Dr. Haji Entang Adi Muhtar as the extraordinary speakers. For the next discussion, we have panel session, the social design model for village development and inclusive local economic development in the global south, and exploration of a sustainable approach to village development. We would like to invite Mr. Bonti Wiradinata, MAP, the moderator for this session. He is one of lecturer from Public Administration Department, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Pajajaran. To Mr. Bonti Wiradinata, time is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second session of Joint Lecture Social Design 3.0, Development of SDGs Village Program in Indonesia, Adaptation of the Social Design Model in Community Development in Japan. My name is Bonti and I'm going to be your moderator today. We have three speakers here. In the second session, the speaker will present. First, Mrs. Rila in front of me. Then Ms. Upalat Korowatana Sakul, PhD, and then Professor Ida Widyaningsih. May I suggest you come here? Thank you very much for coming here. It is nice to having all of you. In the second session, the speaker will present. Namely, the first, Mrs. Rila Profi Diandra, PhD. The speaker is an associate professor at the School of Social Science, Waseda University, Japan. And the interesting thing is from Bandung, from Bandung also. Mr. Diandra obtained her bachelor degree in Urban and Regional Planning Engineering in Institut Teknologi Bandung ITB and graduated in 2004. Then continued her master education in Landscape Planning and Management at Chiba University and graduated in 2009. Then continued her doctoral degree at Spatial Planning at Chiba University and graduated in 2012. And the second speaker was Mr. Upalat Korowatana Sakul, PhD. Good afternoon. The speaker is Associate Professor at the School of Social Science, Waseda University, Japan. He is an international development economist, interested in economy, environmental and social development topics in Asia and Pacific, such as climate change, digital economy, global value chains, informal economy, labor market, and sustainable development. And he has had research collaboration with major international organizations and research institutes, such as Asian Development Bank Institute, the Economic Research Institute for Asian and East Asia, and specialized agencies and programs of the United Nations. He holds a PhD in International Studies, majoring in Development Economic Analysis from the Graduate School of Asia Pacific Studies, Waseda University, Tokyo, Japan. Outstanding, sir. Outstanding, very outstanding. And the third speaker was Professor Ida Widyaningsih, PhD, my teacher also. The speaker is a professor in International Development Administration, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Universitas Pajajaran. Professor Desa di Indonesia is a professor in International Development Administration at Public Administration Department, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Pajajaran, Unpad, Indonesia. She also served as Vice Dean for Learning, Student and Research Affairs at the same faculty. Furthermore, she is a senior researcher and executive director of Center Decentralization and Participatory Development Research, Unpad. She holds a PhD from Flinders Institute of Public Policy and Management, Flinders University, Australia in 2014, master degree in International Development granted from Center for Development Studies, Flinders University, Australia in 2005, and Bachelor in Public Administration from Universitas Pajajaran in 1995. She is selected as one prominent supervisor for the PMDSU, Pendidikan Magister menuju Doktor untuk Sarjana Unggul, a competitive national research grant funded by the Indonesian Ministry of Education and Culture. This program aims to recruit Indonesian future young scientists. Her main research interests are public administration and development issues that have been developing under a research roadmap called Inclusive Development Policy Transformation for a Sustainable Future in 1995 till 2030. Interesting, Professor. And let's start the event. In this session, the speaker will present their idea in 30 minutes each. 30 minutes each. Okay. The first presentation will be given by Mrs. Rila, PhD, with the topic theoretical and practical aspect of the social design model, drawing insight from Japan and implication for Indonesia. Okay, time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone, thank you. It's an honor for me to be here today. My name is Rila Drianda. Oops, sorry. And can you just move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so as you mentioned that I graduated from SMA 3 Bandung and I enrolled in the Department of Regional and City Planning at the Institute Teknologi Bandung in 2000. And then after my graduation, I worked at Bappenas for a year before pursuing my postgrad in Japan. So now I'm working at the English-based undergraduate program at the School of Social Science, Waseda, as an associate professor. And my research interest has expanded from child and family-friendly cities into the relationship between pop culture, urban regeneration, and regional revitalization. So my focus of research is mainly in East Asian countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. And also, I'm interested in the creative approaches in the culture preservation of Asian historical cities. So, yeah, this is my ongoing research projects. So I have two ongoing projects right now and one social design activity. So like my first one is related to the approach to keep urban archaeological sites relevant to modern living. And the case study is Tokyo metropolitan area. So this research is funded by the Obayashi Foundation. And the second one is related to the development of RPG games. So I think like some of you are really familiar with the Japanese game. So I found that it is interesting actually to utilize this type of game for a regeneration tool. And the case study is Awaji Island, Japan. And this research is funded by the Minto Urban Studies Center. And currently, me and my students are proposing like a social design project focusing on the revitalization of Kambarashiku in Shizuoka, Japan. So next, please. So yeah, because I know that we don't have much time, let me just introduce you my teaching activities. So I've been in charge of social design course since 2017. Okay, and next please. So yeah, these are the content of my presentation today. Can you move to the next one? So I think like the term social design, I don't know whether when you took this course, you already know the definition of social design. Any of you? Not really? Yeah, maybe some of you know. Maybe because it's 20 credits, so you just take this course. I mean, like, there are many interesting things about social design, though. So, like, this term has recently gained its momentum all across the world, actually. Like, about 20 years ago, this term was mostly used by the designers. So, like, the product designers, for example, when developing, like, a new product with the help of their collaborators. Nowadays, the term social design, oh, not yet, but it's okay. Okay, so it's widely used actually by people from various backgrounds. And I think that we may have done many social design projects without even knowing that they can be defined as social design. But also there may be other projects that use the term, but actually they do not really understand what make a project a social design. Okay, next please. Okay, so there are many definitions of social design. And I think like the easiest way to define it is to understand that design aims to address social issues through the creation of products or service that the designers believe can contribute to tackling a part of the concerned issues. So if we develop a product or service that is designed to solve a social problem, we can consider the activity social design. Likewise, like it can be defined as an act of social activism. Also, it can be defined as the efforts to design better governance to tackle societal challenges. Likewise, it can be defined as the creation of some services that have not been addressed by the current government and market. For example, like daycare for sick children that is run by a non-profit organization. Next, please. So I think that I have repeated the term social design. So what do you think is the difference between the traditional design that we know and social design that we may often heard lately? Any idea? No? Okay, next please. Yeah, so to understand this difference, I would like to invite you to a challenge. You are given an assignment to design your favorite shoes. Like, let's say an investor is waiting for you, your dream shoes design, for example. So please take a piece of paper and a pen. I think that, is it distributed yet? Okay, so if you have like any notes, or you can use your tablet as well, is fine. I'll give you like 1 minute to complete the drawing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so please conceptualize a footwear design that embodies your personal identity. Like this shoes is representing me and my style. Mm-hmm. Just, yeah. Maybe let's get two students show the pictures. Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe that's... Mungkin Mas Bonti juga bisa ikut gambar. Or tidak. Atau Bu Nunung juga. Yeah, it's okay to draw it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Screenshot boleh. Okay, can anyone share the rough design? I need 2 volunteers to help me. maybe to save the time, I will ask these two ladies over here. Can you just like tell what kind of shoes that are you designing right now?
Okay, actually, I was drawing like what I'm wearing right now. I'm drawing flat shoes, and I think this really draw my identity. Like I'm kind of active, so I think this kind of shoes really describe myself.
I just draw Converse shoes because I just like it because it's my style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So, can you go to the next slide? Wonderful. So, like, actually, that kind of design can be considered a traditional design and not a social design yet, because it still represents the designer's style, and we kind of like develop it without considering like other people's voices. It's about me. It's about the designer. It's about my comfortability. Okay. So the traditional designer, of course, like they listen to the market, but not for the purpose of catering to the needs of the minority or aiming at solving a social issue. So social design approach is a bit different, because let's take example of this an eco-vegan footwear that uses plastic truss from the Portuguese coast as the material. So there is like a value to share, okay, which is the importance of environmental sustainability, the dream that can be pursued together by the consumers, which is like, well, let's say the longer span of this earth. So the design of these shoes will be different from our shoes that are, showcasing our style and preference. Next, please. Next. Okay. So yeah, this is like the easiest way to explain traditional and social design approach. So I think it's pretty clear. Can you move next? So while the traditional designs actually like focuses more on the designer's idea, like the preference, right, the style and so on, while the social design actually enables like more people to ideate, a product or let's say a service together. And to make it easy to understand, let me give you an example here. Like traditional design is more likely to be my own design. Like I don't have any intention to make my product a tool or for a social problem solver. While social design, like the designers wants to collaborate, okay, with other designers and people from different background, or enable an interdisciplinary communication to create something that will benefit the targeted communities or something that will stimulate social changes. Next, please. So if you listen at me carefully, I keep on mentioning several keywords which indicate the approaches in social design, like collaboration, interdisciplinary, like everyone can be the designer. Ideas are continuing and address something that has not been provided by the government or the current market. Yep, so let's move on to the principles of social design. So in social design, ideas come from the inside, okay? So not from the top. So it's clear it's not a top-down approach, and it is not an instruction. It's not an order. So there might be an initiator, but he or she will not act bossy. So it's different, right? Like the action will be leading or organizing other participants in the process of social design, but not instructing or ordering. Next, please. Also, we will keep on questioning, like, what can be improved, like how to increase the access for, let's say, the targeted communities. Are there like better approaches to address the issues and so on? So it seems that we will never be satisfied, but it actually indicates that we need to keep on moving to make the products like or service better. Next, please. And therefore, like we will have like many experiments to identify like what works and what doesn't. Of course, like we will have some plans, but the plans will not be that static, and they will be adjusted to accommodate like our new ideas to deliver better services or create better products. Next, please. And we need also to remember this thing that our creation is not the problem solver. So it means it's too early to say that our ideas will solve the problem. There is no guarantee, but it means that we'll need to continue monitoring the progress and respond fast to adjust to the new challenges. Next, please. Also, like what I mentioned before, like collaboration and interdisciplinary work is important because innovation needs a network, okay? So rather than competing or like beating your competitors or someone with the same dream, same idea, the social designer will actually try to work with these people to make like more impactful products or services. So it means like the sectoral ego will be less, as our vision is like how we find a way to solve the design. Oh, sorry, like a problem. So I think that I would like to skip this one. You can just, like find more information about Cheryl Heller. So this is like how to, start your social design project. Okay, maybe let's just skip this one. Okay, I would like to introduce these examples of social design, the TAY. So don't read it like Thai, okay? Just TAY. So like this is the initiative in Africa to address the cycle of disability and poverty through the creation of this low-cost device and inclusive programs. So next, please. So as you can see here, they actually mentioned the problems that they want to address, such as like of course, like the struggle to mobile in Africa. And they also write their mission. Next, please. They created this to impact programs, and also they asked other users to support them. Next. So this is like the safari card they created to support like the mobility of the villagers in Africa. So it can help people with disability to, go to various places and even bring something with them. Another example is the Mode School initiative. I don't know if you have heard about this initiative before. So it tries to address the limited education access of children living in Indian squatters. So like due to the frequent risk of eviction, so children cannot go to school regularly. Therefore, like this design company introduced like this type of dismantled low-cost school that can be built only in a few days. And the interesting thing about this initiative is the materials that are used for the school. You can see that they use the widely available bamboo as the main construction material, and it's perfect to overcome the heat issue in India. Likewise, they also promote like some traditional handcraft techniques to remind the people about the tradition that should be preserved even in the modern era. Next. Okay, next. Okay, so the very first time actually I heard and learned about social design in Japan, I'm a bit confused because to my knowledge, like in social design we need to create something, right? Like either like product or like service to address social issue. But in Japan, the act of social design is more likely to be an act to design a society. So it's like society-centered design. And I was wondering whether it is actually more suitable to use this term instead of social design. So maybe for me, it's probably like design for society, not social design. And the projects that I saw were more likely to be driven by just a few people, and the scale was often very small. So maybe if you look at the project, you will feel that that's not significant, that's not inspiring. However, in recent years, like the trend has changed a lot. Like there are more attempts to foster everyone as social designer, and provides like more platform for people to kind of like develop their ideas. Next, please. So in many universities, including this one in Chiba, like there are many training and education to foster young students to kind of like explore, understand what the social design is and how can they contribute in addressing issues in the society. This is like an initiative by Chiba Uni. They send students to various countries to experience something. So like the one that I show here was about trying to understand the value of places through audio AR. Next, please. And also, I think lately there have been like a growing body of design companies that consider social design in their line of work. Like they try to utilize more resources, consider more collaboration in the creation of like new design products. So instead of developing something, fancy, they'll try to create something from, let's say, like more sustainable materials or something that have more functions. And in terms of that space design, they try to make the design, greener and enable users to have like more meaningful interactions. Next, please. Also, there are like some growing movement that use the term social design. So I was wondering at first like what the movement is about, and apparently they try to address the issues of minority groups in Japan. And the question is like, are there any social design project aiming at, well, let's say revitalizing communities or regional area? As you may already know, that Japan is experiencing serious depopulation issues, right? And this issue has devitalized the local economy. And the government is currently working so hard at, they try to leverage the attractiveness of regional places, such as small towns, villages, as places to visit, work, and even raise families. And of course, like tourism has become like one of these important sectors. They also try to provide like more community spaces that can welcome more communities. But this time I want to introduce Fukui Prefecture, and it is situated very far actually from the capital city. It's famous for its sand, also the desert. And unlike other regions in Japan, like Fukui is actually facing a serious risk of depopulation, as the number of the elderly, as you can see there, has passed the number of children and younger people. And this demographic situation has actually raised a serious concern on the future of Fukui. So the region has to do something to, kind of like save their future. Next, please. And the region is famous as the dinosaurs capital of Japan, as like more fossils were discovered here. And the region has a museum that displays many dinosaurs fossils. So if you want to go to Fukui, I really recommend that, especially if you love this type of dinosaur stuff. Next. So leveraging the image of Fukui as a place to live, play, and visit has become like one of the main strategies of Fukui Prefecture, and one of its attempts is to develop this type of public transportation-centered urban and community development. So local stakeholders such as Fukui University of Technology has initiated several projects to make Fukui more livable for the residents. So that, as you can see here, like they collaborated with a local train company, Echizen Tetsudo, to create some interesting elements and propose some events to kind of like entertain the passengers. So this one was during the Tanabata festival, so I think that you know Tanabata, right? Okay, next. And I think this is interesting, like to make like people love using public transportation. So the train company actually they has been working with the local residents and train enthusiasts from other regions to increase the attractiveness of Fukui through a train fan club. So this supporter club like produce a monthly booklet that advertise local delicacies, for example, or like some interesting destinations. And the supporters, they will pay some amount of money every year as the membership fee, and they're eligible for various discounts. And they can actually collect points, as you can see there, and exchange the points with some original trend marks. So I think this is interesting. So for example, if you can collect 30 points, so you can get that type of like memorabilia. Okay, next, please. So another initiative to make Fukui's public transport interesting is the utilization of the thematic design, because I mentioned before, Fukui is famous for the dinosaurs thing. So as you can see that Echizen Tetsudo tried to decorate the train with the dinosaurs, let's say like kind of the indoor theme park. And even though the price is quite expensive, like still there are many tourists coming to Fukui just to experience this, like the dinosaurs themed train. Next, please. And another initiative is the Kichi Bar. So this initiative aims to actually bring back the vitality of an old shopping district, which used to be very crowded in the past. And the idea is to set, this type of long table in the middle of the, what do you call it, like walking corridor, where everyone actually can sit and order food from the nearby restaurants, like you can see here. So the visitors are invited to share their thoughts on, place branding, or like what kind of events that probably can increase the attractiveness of Fukui for like the outsiders, or like something that can invite inbound tourism. And the municipal staff there will be will be there during the event to listen to the community stories and probably adopt some ideas. Next, please. So what can we learn from these cases? So I think like first, learning from Japanese cases, we can understand, or like let's say that we know that even small initiative matters. So it can start from a very small initiative, because like social activism can actually change the condition of the affected communities. Like in the case of Fukui, like the thematic event, the community bar is very meaningful for the locals. Maybe for us as the tourists, it's not interesting at all. But like for the locals, they do matters, okay? So by knowing more people, for example, who live in their surroundings, there are more chances for them to feel that they belong to the town. And next, it's clear that a structured collaboration will help to set a backbone for the social design project. Like we need to start developing a collaboration culture in which everyone tries to contribute, not to compete. Next. So from my perspective, there are many projects in Indonesia that can be categorized social design. I guess like many people have initiated many social movements, like helping those without access, and also, well, there are many aids for the SMEs that can bring, like more social impacts. So if we want to employ social design to bring more impacts, like we need to consider actually like the extent to which we actually can agree that this design should be carried out under the collaboration spirit. Okay, so the people sitting in the top should lead others. Okay, not bossying them. At the same time, like the other participants, they must work diligently as well, like contributing to the collective work. It means that we cannot accept any free riders in the project. Okay, so if you cannot commit, please leave the group. Then we need to remember that the social design is not only a one-time project. Don't leave the communities once we release, like our product or service. So the product and service maintenance will be another important keyword that should be highlighted here. Then defining our collaborators are also important. Working with the people with the capacity will help us to address the problem easier, let's say. Then again, checking whether everyone is on the same page when doing a social design. And from my experience, well, you think maybe, this advice is, this is very simple, like making everyone understand the vision and stuff. But actually, this is the most difficult thing I have encountered so far. Like meeting people, collaborators with the same vision, energies, commitment are very, very hard. So if you meet them, share these people and start making changes, okay? Yeah, I guess that's all from me. I hope that it can meet the 30 minutes one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Interesting about the presentation. I think I have learning lesson. The interesting is that everything starts from a small step of the locals. That's the key point. Interesting. Okay. Then we have the next presentation, and will be given by Mr. Upalat, PhD, with the topic Advancing the Agenda Inclusive Local Economic Development to Facilitate the Progress of Sustainable Village Development in the Global South. Time is yours, sir.
Hello. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Upalat Gawathaskun. Actually, I'm originally from Thailand, but I've been living in Japan for 14 years already. So it's quite long. But actually, Professor Rila lived longer than me, like 17 years. Okay. So actually, I changed my title a bit because. Professor Lila was talking about something like on the bottom-up approach, right? So I want to go something from the top down. So we're going to talk about this digitalization, how we're going to use technologies, and also to include people in the society, in the formal sector, and then how can we link these activities to global value chains or the trades. Just to give you a notice, I'm economist, so I might speak something out of the context of your study, but I do believe that everything is connected to each other. So I hope you learn something from my lecture today. So today I'm going to talk about this unlocking green and inclusive growth the nexus of digitalization, formalization, and global value chains. Actually, this is one of my working paper that I'm going to present in the conference by Asian Development Bank Institute. Next slide, please. Okay, so just like to advertise the event. So if you are interested in this event, you can join online. It's going to be on 23rd to 25th of October. So the event name is Promoting Digitalization for Green and Inclusive Growth in Developing Asia and the Pacific. Next, please. And you can find more information like in this slide, and then you can go to the link to like register for the event, and it's online and it's free. So if you have time, please join the event. Like there are many speakers from different countries that are going to talk about how we can use like digital technologies in order to promote sustainable development. And I think this is very related to the topic of today's theme. Next, please. So just want to give a little bit of my background because I never met you before, and I think it's good to have some minutes to familiarize myself with you, and also you familiarize yourself with me. Okay. So my educational background, as I said, I'm from Thailand, so I graduate from Thammasat University from the International Economics major. And it was in English program because that's one of my my goal, like that I wanted to like be able to speak in English and also some other foreign languages. So I went to this like University of California, Santa Cruz for my third year of my undergraduate, and I was there for a year. And that's where I met international friends. So I really encourage like all of you like to participate in this kind of exchange program if you have any opportunities, because you could learn a lot from like foreign friends and also foreign professors. And after I graduate from Thammasat University, I went to Waseda University, where I'm teaching currently as well. So I've been there since 2009. Of course, after I graduate, I moved like to some other places, but eventually I came back and worked at my university. So my major was education for my master degree, and then I came back to economics, like development, for my PhD. Next, please. And this is just my simple career path. So I was working with JICA. So JICA gave you grants, right? So there is some connection between you and me as well. So I was working with JICA Research Institute when I was a PhD student, like in my last semester, because I had nothing to do. I was just waiting for my thesis to be granted as a pass, as a graduate. And then after that, I was working with ASEAN Japan Center. So this center is under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they promote trade and investment and also cultural exchange between Japan and ASEAN countries. So I was there, and then I was in the investment division and also research division. And after that, I came to Waseda University as an assistant professor during the COVID-19. So everything went online, and it was my first time to teach online. So everyone was struggling during that period. And I think you also struggling as a student to study like during that period as well. And after that 1 year, I just went to this United Nations University in like Shibuya, like in Tokyo. So I shift my major a bit to environmental and social development. So this is where I learned how to do research on this theme. And now I came back to Waseda University as an associate professor. Next, please. Okay, so this is just some of the organizations that I've been working with. So I'm doing like consultancy like for this organization. So I'm sure you know some of them, right? ADBI, like Asian Development Bank, or Area, the office is in Jakarta, but actually it's funded by Japanese government and 10 ASEAN countries and also some other research institutes. So if you are interested in working in these organizations, you can consult me anytime. I will give you my contact at the end of my lecture. Okay, next please. Any questions about me? Before starting the real lecture, it might be boring for you. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, then I would like to jump to our lecture today. So what is informal economy? Anyone know what is informal economy? Have you heard about this before? Yes, no, maybe. Sleepy? Okay, next please. So according to International Labour Conference in 2015, they define informal economy as all economic activities by workers and economic units that are in law or in practice not covered or insufficiently covered by formal arrangements. Okay, so what does it mean by workers and economic units? Next, please. So what exactly is informal economy? So economic units in the informal economy involve units with employees, units run by individuals working on their account, either self-employed persons, like someone who sells food on the street, or like street vendors, or someone who might just work by themselves and they don't have any employees, or units with the help of contributing family workers. So you can just imagine like families in rural areas that they help with the farming, so they don't really register themselves as a employee, so they don't really receive any social protection from the government because they do not pay any tax. And cooperatives and social and solidarity economy units. So these are all the economics that are considered as working in the informal economy. So accordingly, informal enterprises are typically characterized by labor-intensive and low productivity activities with little growth potential, and they have limited access to financial resources and government support. So as I just explained, because they don't pay tax, so they cannot really receive any help or support from the government. Okay, next please. Okay, so let's see the statistic of the informal economy. So in Asia, small and medium enterprises or SMEs represent over 97% of the number of businesses. So this is according to APEC in 2022, of which predominantly belong to the informal sector. So the estimation by International Finance Corporation, they estimate that 80 to 90% of SMEs are concentrated in the informal sector. Next, please. So what are the problems here? Why do we need to focus on, or why do we have to care about this informal economy? So even though the informal sector is considered one of the economic driving forces for developing economies, especially in the early stage of development. So as you can see in most of developing countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, the Philippines. We need this informal sector because people cannot really find jobs in the formal sector. So that's why informal sector absorb this kind of people to work. Otherwise, these people, they don't have jobs. And then if they don't have jobs, they don't have income to sustain their life. So that's why informal economy is very important in developing countries. But of course, having informal economy, there are some other costs that the country or the persons have to pay. So that's why we have to care about this informal economy. So for example, from this slide, the prevalence of informal enterprises and the informal sector in general possibly hinders long-run economic growth due to insufficient aggregate production or productivity and insufficient resource allocation. So this is why we have to care about this informal sector. Therefore, the size of informal sector is expected to shrink or to decline along with the development of the formal sector and the overall economy. Nevertheless, the recent statistics tell a different story. So informal enterprises are prevalent in urban and rural areas of both developing and developed economies. So this, like, even though the theories say that like when our economy is growing, we will see the shrinkage of the informal sector, but the reality is not something like that. It's not that easy. And we can see these informal like enterprises in both urban and rural areas. So this is why this informal economy is really important and related to the theme of today like discussion, because we want to discuss about how to make our village like sustainable, or how to promote sustainable development in terms of economic, environmental, and social like in our communities. Next, please. Okay, and from the title of my lecture, you can see like 3 keywords, right? One is formalization, second is global value chains, third is digitalization. So from now, I want to try to explain how can we relate all these 3 keywords together. So from this slide is going to be about global value chains, like why do global value chains matter? So the rapid development of global value chains, or GVCs, introduce opportunities and challenges to informal enterprises. GVC participation can benefit informal enterprises, including access to financial resources, capabilities and competitiveness enhancement, market expansion, product quality improvement. So let's imagine you are farmers or producers of something in your village. Like the most that you can sell is just, domestic market, right? Because if you don't have any connection with the international market, or if you don't have any connection with multinational enterprises, then you can just sell your products like to your neighbors or to your city or your village. But if you can participate in these global value chains, like you are connected to a bigger market, and then to connect with this market, you can benefit from knowledge that can transfer like from abroad. So you can improve yourself, improve your production, improve your knowledge, or improve your management in your companies or in your small enterprises. And this is why global value chains is do matter like in terms of economic development. Next, please. Okay, so despite all the benefits, the informal sector remains underrepresented in the global value chains. And informality is one of the critical constraints preventing enterprises from participating in global value chains. Why? Because you don't have financial resources, you don't have enough capabilities, and because of this, you cannot really conform with the international standard. For example, if you want to sell like coffee beans, but you don't know how to submit like certificate of your coffee beans like to the EU market, and this can prevent you to export your coffee beans to the EU market, and you cannot really join the global value chains. So this is why being like in an informal sector, like you are being disadvantageous, because you cannot really get support from the government, or you cannot really have enough capacity to join the global value chain. Next, please. Okay, so I've been talking quite a lot, so let's take a breath here. So I would like just to summarize what I've been talking like for now. So basically, what I have been talking, like we can summarize into this figure. So if you are in the informal sector, it's really difficult for you to join the global value chains. And because of that, we cannot really achieve the economic and environmental and social development. But if you are in the formal sector, we hypothesize that like maybe there are the way that you can easily include in the global value chains, and because of this, like global value chains can promote economic, environmental, and social development. Okay, so this is just to summarize what I've been explaining so far, like in a very simple form. Next, please. Any questions so far? Okay, no. I think my lecture is perfect. Okay, so next, I would like to bring this digitalization like into our framework. So before we were talking only about formalization and global value chains, right? So now, what is the role of the digitalization or digital technologies in order to promote formalization and also global value chains? So with the ongoing industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, I think you know this term, right? Like we've been using a lot in ASEAN countries. So digital technologies have become significant for industrial and economic development as never before. Through the reduction of compliance costs and productivity enhancement, digitalization of enterprises may facilitate the transition of informal enterprises to the formal sector. So basically, digital technologies can help you reduce like compliance costs, because you can reduce like some paperwork. Like nowadays, you can just maybe like you can just report your tax online, right? If you have this kind of system in your country, then you don't have to, you know, like comply all the documents and then go to the government office and then submit the documents and then wait for a few days in order to get approved or something like that. So nowadays, like you can just, you know, rely on this kind of technologies in order to become more formal, or you can work in the formal sector. And the next one, it can also increase the productivity or productivity enhancement. So you can use technologies in order to promote your agriculture or your products or your sale, right? For example, you can sell products like on Facebook or on Instagram. Like it's kind of like free of charge, right? You don't have to really pay anything, but you can just use this kind of technologies in order to improve your productivity. Okay, next please. So what are the problems here again? So although the importance of digitalization, formalization, and also global value chains has been recognized widely, only a handful of previous studies examine the impact of digitalization on enterprise formalizations, and also common notions regarding the positive effect of formalization on GVC participation have been made without sufficient empirical support. So this is why, this is the motivation why I wanted to do research on this topic. Okay, next please. Okay, so let's take another deep breath here. So I just want to summarize what I was talking so far. So I just brought in this digitalization element into the framework. So you can see that digitalization may help like your firms or your like economic units in order to work in the formal sector. And then this can be linked to global value chains, and at the end we can achieve economic, environmental, and social development. So this is the framework of my research so far. Okay, next please. So next, what is the connection with environmental implications? So I want to kind of link my research to environmental and social development in order to be able to link to the theme of today's presentation, right? So first, formalization is aligned with positive environmental outcomes, as formal business tend to comply with environmental regulations more diligently, reducing pollution and improving adherence to sustainability standards. because of like when you register your company like to the government, you have to comply to certain rules or certain laws, right? So for example, you have to comply to the environmental laws. So that's why if you are working in the informal sector, or if you are being like formal enterprises, then you are more likely to comply to these environmental standards. And this can help you to be able to join the global value chains as well. Like because, for example, like developed countries, they require you to submit certain certificates regarding like environmental protections or environmental impacts of your product. So if you are not being able to do so, then you cannot join this global value chains. And on the global value chain front, participation introduced a mix of challenges and opportunities. So as you may know, like if we want to trade, we have to use like some kind of transportation, right? Either shipping by boat or by airplane, and this can cause like greenhouse gas like emission, and this can bring negative impact to the environment. But at the same time, because you are being compliant with this like environmental codes or environmental regulations, so you can also be able to promote like environmental development as well. So participating firms are concurrently incentivized to adopt sustainable practices to meet global standards. As you know, like towards this 2030, everyone is working towards this sustainable development goals or SDGs. Like even the private sector, they have to comply to this trend as well. And this is where global value chain can force them like to comply to this environmental development. And moreover, GVC participation is associated with resource use efficiency, as enterprise optimize production processes, reducing waste more efficiently, more efficient resource utilization. So like as everyone want to reduce costs, so they want to work more efficiently. So that's why they try to reduce all this waste and try to optimize the production process. And this can help give positive impact on the environmental development. Okay, next please. So on the social front, formalization is associated with job security and fair wages. So being in the formal sector, you have to comply to the labor law. So that's why you have to take care of your employees in a fair way, or you have to give good wage or decent wage for them. You cannot really exploit them. But if you are in the informal sector, you don't really have to care about these laws. So you can just exploit your employees. So that's why being in the formal sector, you can also promote social development as well. And in terms of GVC participation, it can link to job creation, skill development, and also economic diversification. So because of this, all of these benefits, of being formalization or how to promote this formalization, then we can see that we can promote the sustainable and inclusive economic development in our society or our community. Okay, next please. Sorry, how many minutes do I have? 5 minutes? Okay. Actually, I prepare 40 minutes lecture. But anyway, I try to make it brief. So the next slide just summarize my research questions. So basically, I would like to look at the relationship between digitalization and formalization or formality. And my second research question is the relationship between formalization and global value chains. So these are the two main research questions in my research, in my paper. Okay, next please. And my research significance is that include like achieving a greater understanding of the role of digital technologies and formalization in facilitating GVC participation, which remains largely unknown, and also using unexplored firm-level data to account for critical heterogeneity in digitalization and formalization. And the last but not least, my research also contribute in terms of deriving policy implications from the findings, helping firms efficiently and effectively leverage the benefits of digitalization and formalization and promoting sustainable and inclusive growth in a larger context. Okay, next please. Okay, so I think we have only 5 minutes, so please skip to slide number 29. Okay, so this is just to summarize like the literature so far. So basically, what has been discovered so far, including common characteristics of informal enterprises, include high labor intensiveness, low productivity, limited growth potential, and also little access to financial resources and government support. And these are also, we also know about the leading causes of informality, including business nature, lack of awareness, capability, and also incentive. Okay, so please skip to the next slide. So these are just about my research, like what kind of data that I use and also what kind of research methods that I use, but I think it's too detailed. So please skip to page 35. Okay, so basically in my research I found the positive relationship between digitalization and formalization, and also positive relationship between digitalization and global value chains. So basically, if you use some kind of digital technologies, you can be able to participate in the formal sector, and also you can participate in the global value chains. So my research want to emphasize the importance of digitalization, not only in the big firms, but also in like SMEs and local community as well. Like whether you are farmers or whether you are like small vendors, you can always use this kind of technologies in order to promote your businesses. Okay, so my findings underscore the transformative potential of embracing digital technologies in fostering enterprise formalization. Importantly, the results reveal a reciprocal relationship between indicating that both digitalization and formalization act as mutually reinforcing factors, propelling enterprises towards greater engagement in global value chains and elevating the depth of their participation in these chains. So this implies that bolstering digitalization efforts can serve as a catalyst for concurrent advancement in formalization and global value chain. Okay, next please. Okay, so to facilitate the transition of informal enterprise to the formal sector, policymakers may initially offer or guarantee enterprises access to basic digital technology, which requires devices such as computers or tablets. And also they can promote digital applications such as like email applications and also website creator applications, because this kind of technologies are quite cost effective because they are quite cheap compared to other digital technologies. And also the government can also enable digital infrastructure and environment such as access to electricity, because like in most of the rural areas they still do not have even have electricity, so they cannot really use like digital technologies, and also access to the internet, right? Because nowadays you can see the problem of the digital divide, between the urban and rural area as well. So I think that's all the main messages that I would like to emphasize for today because of the time limited. So basically, I want to show you the importance of the digital technologies in order to promote economic, environmental, and social development. So this is my, please skip to the last slide, please. Next one. Yep. So if you want to contact me, you can connect to me on the LinkedIn or like my homepage. I think there is my email like on my homepage as well. So yeah, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you for the presentation you have given, Mr. Upalat. Very nice, interesting. The digitalization may accelerate the formalization, and that's excellent. Thank you. Okay, the next presentation will continue to Professor Ida Widianingsih, PhD. The time is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, moderator. Okay, this is actually the worst time to listen to a lecture, and you have to listen to somebody else's language. I'm really sorry about this one. Okay, I think that we appreciate the sharing of Professor Rila and Professor Upalat from Waseda University. Both of them actually discuss about something very interesting and relevant to Indonesian development. So allow me to have to propose kind of my speech is about the integration of inclusive practice into policy framework and development practice at the village level, balancing social equity, economic fairness, and environmental integrity. So I think that you've been in this class for probably 3 or 4 months, and you learned so much about development. And I also knew that some of you went to the village and learned something from the villagers and tried to observe what is actually the real development problem at the grassroots level. So I think, next slide. My talk is actually try to introduce to you about what is it mean by inclusive development concept and how actually this concept related to policy, and also briefly discuss about the sustainability in different perspectives, and to look at the relationship between inclusive development and sustainable development, the implementation of inclusive development, and how actually we can balance the social equity, economic fairness, and environmental integrity as a crucial aspect for sustainable and equitable development. Next slide. So what Professor Rila and Professor Upalat shared is actually something related to inclusive development concept. When we're talking about the important, for example, of digital technology, so the technology actually meaningless if it is only be covered or only could be accessed for some individuals. Actually, I also had similar research with what you did, Professor Upalat. So I conducted research in 10 provinces in Indonesia. Apparently, Indonesian government, of course, following global design of public services, Indonesian government offer digital transformation as one of the choice of the government to change all the service into more digital, and in public administration perspective, we thought digitalization would make public service even much better. But unfortunately, due to the high range of the geographical location of Indonesia, we got a problem on digital transformation. Only 62% of Indonesians actually able to access the service, and the rest actually remain neglected, and the digital transformation somehow making more Indonesian become marginalized. So I think that's quite the issue why we are here to discuss about social design, because I mean that we support economic development, but economic development is not enough. We have to think about how actually we could support development in a more fair way for everyone. Next slide. Okay, so if you look at this slide, so for you as public administration students, inclusive development is something that actually really relevant to our reality, our development problems right now. Inclusive development encompasses the formulation and implementation of policies and procedures that take into account the diverse needs and viewpoints of all relevant stakeholders. Probably you remember in the first time when Professor Rilas asking you to design something, everyone, you know, every single of you wouldn't have a precise design, precise model, the same hope, the same problem. We are unique. We have different expectations, we have different problems. So does the community. So we couldn't find everyone the same. The community would be different, they are diverse, especially in Indonesia. Since 1928, we understand that Indonesian already recognize that we are one single nation, but we consist of diverse society. So this is why inclusive development should be part of the policy. So we couldn't just make the policy for certain individual, but we have to find some way to make an active engagement and empowerment of underrepresented population, including individuals with impairments or disability, women, ethnic minorities, and some other minority groups. So in terms of policy, so many times when learning about policy, we think that one single policy is enough, but if the policy don't have any value of inclusiveness, it is very dangerous because it could widen the gap amongst the society. So in terms of public administration, for example, when we are talking about inclusive development, we have to guarantee the equitable access to all of Indonesian for education, healthcare, and also other important services. Next slide. So, okay, this is actually some literature discuss about what is actually sustainability. And it is interesting to see people will have a different perspective. The first group talking about the conventional economic perspective and non-environmental degradation perspective. And then the third group related to the integrational perspective, for example, how to encompass the economic, environmental, and social aspect, and also intergeneration perspective, and also the last one is about holistic perspective that actually have to combine all the aspect, integrated and intergenerational perspective. So this concept is actually related to the inclusive development concept. So let's look at how we could see the relationship between inclusive development and sustainable development. Next slide. Okay, this is also very interesting and good concept on what is actually the connection between two distinct concepts of inclusive development and sustainable development. So if you look at this one, this triangle actually talking about the standard development aim, that all development always discuss about economic growth. But we have to remember, when we pursue development, there are society, and also society also, they live in a very huge habitat, we have environment. So these three different aspects should go and connect harmoniously. So when we design the bed policy, so probably it is too exclusive, only focus on development. But the reason new concept of development, if we want to have strong sustainable development, we have to endorse an inclusive development concept. So we are talking about green society, inclusive growth, green economy, and ecology or modernization. So probably you remember the problems, recent problem in Jakarta, how Jakarta as the capital city of Indonesia facing so many problems, including the high population, as well as the pollution, air pollution. So, and probably you also remember how actually the government tried to cut off the issues by very reactive policy. For example, by stopping people to encouraging people to work from home. But many argue that that is actually only partial policy, because if you ask people to stay home and work from home, it is not actually solving the whole problem. So we have to look at this as an integrated problem and to design the more appropriate policy. Next slide. So I know this is a bit complicated, but this is very interesting and very important to see and to discuss. That we have to, I know that probably some of you also had a similar experience. I think most of your time, your high school time, actually you didn't have good high school time. Because of the small thing, we even couldn't see, the COVID-19, we had to stay home. Suddenly all the school closed, the office closed, everything closed, and Indonesian economy actually fall into very low level. Because of that, we have to think that actually human is no longer the top predator. You know, we defeated by a very small thing called COVID-19 that actually influenced the whole countries, not only in developing countries, but also in big countries. Remember what happened in Italy and also the United States. So COVID-19 actually influenced everyone in the whole world. So this is why we have also to rethink about our policy and about the way we live. So if you look at the agenda of Sustainable Development Agenda, you can see that there is living well within planetary boundaries, that we have to think about that if we want to have safer place for human, if we want the humanity to function, then we have to relate them with some of the principles of the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. For example, this is the idea of we also have to think about intergenerational and intragenerational equity. This is also related to some agenda, and I think whatever you did in the village, actually I expect you also to try to observe and to look at whether the phenomenon also related to some of the Sustainable Development Agenda. It is very important for us to think about, for example, alternative economic model, because the old economic model is not enough and no longer suitable for us. And if we want to talk about the inclusion, diversity is something that actually really exists, and we couldn't avoid that. So, and the principle of transparency and health and well-being, as well as resilient sustainable behaviors, also very important for our development principle. I think I need to have a drink. Sorry. Okay, next slide, please. Berapa menit lagi sih? How many minutes do I have? Masih 6? Okay, dicepetin. Huh? Okay, I try to speak quicker. Oh, 15. Okay, no, but I think I can finish it quicker. Okay, so the implementation of, next slide, the implementation of inclusive development. So I think that inclusive development is not only a concept, but we have to ensure it is actually exists in our society within the government policy framework that, I mean, to be able to make the inclusive development happening, actually there is some requirement. So the government and also other development stakeholders should adopt what we call as a multi-dimensional approach. So the process involves a recognition and resolution of structural barriers and discriminatory behaviors, the promotion of inclusive society integration, and fostering of participatory and fair governance. I think this is very relevant to what you are learning, that governance is not enough. Yeah, you have to push it further. You have to think about the group of community that actually excluded from development process. And also the second one, the attainment or the implementation of inclusive development is requires the formation of cooperative partnership. I think previous speakers also mentioned about how important it is to work together. So I mean that I don't think competition is applicable for us at this moment. We have to cooperate, we have to develop partnership and build alliance among a wide range of stakeholders. Probably you can have a look of your research note and you can discuss it later in the workshop, who actually the important stakeholders in the village you are visiting and how they work and to what extent actually they can work together or probably they are not really working together. So in the new concept of development, we are not only talking about the role of the government, but we also look at the function or the role of civil society organization, business sector, and even if you look at the helix model, you will know that the actors of development is much more than business, civil society, and organization. Some of the policies in West Java and some other local government in Indonesia probably mentioned about pentahelix model, but if we want to discuss about sustainable development, pentahelix also not enough. Okay, you can look at one of my articles that actually wrote about quintuple helix model of development. So they are the more complex the society is, actually we need more comprehensive approach toward development. And the last one is about the integration of inclusive practice within policy framework and development initiative is an essential element. So I hope as public administration students, and I believe you will be graduate very soon and you will lead our country and probably you will work somewhere else in the world. You have to remember that actually development without policy framework is nothing. Our function is very important. Sorry. Oh, yeah, still there. Our function is very important. So we have to pay attention to the essential element that actually the initiative of development should be framed under the policy and it should propose the inclusive principle and practices. Next slide, please. But sometimes we also asking how actually we could measure the inclusive development. But based on some of the research and the theory, the achievement of development, for example, require the adoption of dimensional approach. So we don't, we have to, the process is not only discuss about the economic indicators, but we also have to look at the society and the environment principle. And some other researchers like Rafi Kumar also saying that if we want to measure inclusive development, when we do the monitoring progress of development and analyze the impact of the policy and program on excluded group is necessary. So if you, for example, in the future doing evaluation of the policy, of course, you could look at the policy and check the narrative within the policy, but you have to be critical and look at the content of the policy, who are actually the beneficiary of the policy. Do the policy, for example, really protecting the people in need or only benefiting the rich individual, for example? So thinking about the policy is very important to have a broader perspective, and you have to check the data. So not only focus on the beneficiary, but you have to think about the impact of the policy. And measuring about the inclusive development also related to the indicators that actually go beyond economic metrics. So GDP and other statistical data, of course, very important for the basic consideration, but it is not enough. So you have to combine the approach. So the future of our research is not only single perspective from one discipline. So you have to work together with some other researchers from other disciplines. And I think, I don't know how many of you know that actually our university now become the host of PKM. Okay, I think this is actually a very good opportunity for you to try to offer your ideas about how important it is to propose inclusive development ideas. You don't need to have sophisticated and something that really will work. You know, just ideas is very good. Like remember, Professor Rila said, social design, most of the time this is about ideas. Yeah, but think critically. And I think some of the topic of your research and your observation and your material you're learning through the social design class is suitable for your proposal for joining PKM. And I think Pak Cecep, my manager, already noticed that our university actually will give funding to around 484 groups of students, and at this moment, only 10% of the students applied. So you have opportunities. So I think this is good if you expand your research as well for the proposal for the PKM competition, because you don't need to go anywhere. It will be here in UNPAD, and it is good opportunity for you to learn something, to develop something, and you are always welcome if you want to consult me regarding the proposal or for writing or whatever ideas. Okay, but you need to also find some colleagues, other students from other faculties to increase your opportunity and eligibility winning the competition. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is about some of my research actually think that I think for kind of the last 20 or 25 years, my research is always about the marginalized people and also how unfair development is. My undergrad thesis is about poverty alleviation program. And then I keep developing my research and thinking that actually development is not only about economy. So we have to keep the balance between social equity, economic fairness, and environmental integrity. So if we want to have a more sustainable and equitable development, so we have to keep this balance. So this is some example for how, for example, the relationship between what we call as distributive justice and environmental economy actually proposed. So this is actually highlight the importance of fairness in environmental policy, and we have to balance the economic consideration and environmental concern while ensuring social equity. So most of the time, probably you also heard that theoretically, economic growth is actually not really in line with environmental protection. But I think some of you, especially those who join us in the Eco-Village project in Social Design 1 and Social Design 2, actually that's actually one of the alternative of development. We don't always need to choose whether it should be economy or it should be environment. We could keep the balance of both. Ecotourism, for example, is one of the example of balancing this relation between economy, distributive justice, and environmental economy. And another one is the decision-making process. So the decision-making process sometimes quite emotional when we look at the inclusive policy. Because we have to look beyond the statistical data. You have to go to the grassroots. We have to listen to more people. And I think participatory approach for development is more suitable to make your decision-making process is more inclusive. So there is no way to discuss inclusiveness if you have your own framework and top-down model of development. And then about the conservation decision-making, sometimes people thinking about the trade-off between social equity, economic and environmental integrity in the context of conservation effort. It is not really easy, but this is not impossible. Okay, so all you need to work together and find the right balance. You could read more of this in this information if you want. You can check some of my articles and some of my books discussing about the balancing individualism and collectivism, and some other books actually discuss about how development and policies should try to keep this balance between three different things. And it is also important to look at the role of municipalities in urban living lab. So some of the researchers also doing some experiments to see whether local government can do more, and indeed the municipality actually has power to develop the community and integrate the inclusive practice into policy framework at the local level. But most of the time, policy making is not the same as in the text you are reading. Practically, policy making process is more political. This is why we have to choose the right person. Yeah, probably, I mean that Indonesian politics is not that grown up, but you can look at some good people. I believe some good people, but as a student, you also can do something good in your life. I know that while you're young, you can enjoy your life, but you also have to think about our future. My research on water governance issues found out that in West Java alone, with the recent population growth, actually West Java wouldn't have enough water by 2045. Lucky for me, I won't be live at that time, yeah, but probably you're still there. Yeah, so you have to remember, we have to do something. We already lost so many forests. We lost so many forests. Probably you also can remember how there are so many disasters happening in West Java and in some other region in Indonesia that actually related to the environmental issues. So as a student, I think you can do something, and I also invite you, if you have some time, there will be a movement of the community. We will go to Ciwidey, my kampung, ke kampung saya ke Ciwidey. We will plant some tree. We have so many trees, probably more than 3,000 trees, and we will plant in the area around 20 acre in south of Bandung, and it will be in the mid of November. So if you are interested and you are willing, so we invite you to work with us, with some NGO, to support the Citarum River task force, especially in sub watershed Ciwidey. Yeah. I'm working in my area because it is very important. Some of the water coming to Bandung actually comes from my area, Ciwidey, from Gambung. But the last time I came there, the depth of the water actually decreased significantly because we didn't have enough trees. Yeah, we lost more than 70,000 acres of forest. Yeah, this is why we have to start working together, because I mean that there are some good people giving some trees, but the tree couldn't walk to the forest on its own. The tree need your hands to plant them in. Okay, so hopefully, if you're interested, you can just contact, I don't know, Pak Cecep or whoever, the anak BEM ya, Ezra, anak HI. I think he will join me. Then you can apply. Ya. Don't worry about the transport. We will take care of it. But we just need your hands and your willingness to support us to help the water crisis in West Java. Okay, I think that it comes to the last slide. This is the concluding remark. That's actually very important for us, that the integration of inclusive practice into policy framework and development practices at the village level requires a comprehensive approach that consider various factors. So the principle of keeping the balance, social equity, economic fairness, and environmental integrity is crucial for sustainable and equitable development. Policymakers, hopefully you will be policymakers in the future, and practitioners can work toward achieving a balance between these social equity, economic fairness, and environmental integrity in their initiative. And we also have to concern on how to develop a comprehensive approach to integrate inclusive practice into policy framework and development practice at the village level. I think that's all I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation you have given, Prof. Ida. And the next. Izin Om, nanti habis ini ada hadiah buat penanya. Okay. Okay. Now, thank you for your presentation, and to all of you, thank you very much. And we continue to the next session, the discussion session. This last session will be 30 minutes of duration long. The audience can ask question, please. Maybe someone to ask the speaker. Okay, thank you. Boleh ke depan ya, mau ke sini? Atau mic-nya udah ada? Oh ya, oke. Okay, the questioner, please. 12 saja. Okay, 12 present for you. Okay, please, for the questioner, to ask question, please introduce yourself and please ask who it is addressed to, ya. Jadi kasih tahu mau tujuan siapa ya. Silakan.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the time you gave to me, and good morning to all speakers in my lecture, and also my friends that attend these rooms. I have questions that may address to Mr. Upalat. So that, as you mentioned before from your presentations.
Your name, please. Your name.
Yeah, my name is Abraham Ritonga. Okay, as you mentioned before from your presentations, the state informal enterprises is about labor intensive and low probability and also low government support. And at the next slide, you also mentioned about Asia SMEs is in general gives 97%. And how, my question is how Japan can push the transformation from informal enterprises to formal enterprises, or the formalizations, and what kind of the approach did Japan do, and how you can say what kind of the approach in Japan if we compare to Indonesia. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Abraham, for your question. Okay, the next question, yeah.
Okay, thank you for.
Okay, you are the third. Okay, no.
Okay, for the first, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Fajar. Earlier, Professor Upal explained why does the digitalization is matter. However, in its implementation, many informal enterprises lack the knowledge and access to tools for digitalization. And the question is, how can we address this issue, especially in developing countries like in Indonesia? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next question from, yeah, you.
Okay, thank you,
Your
moderator.
name? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dita. I'm public administration student at Pajajaran University. I'm allowed to ask, in the social design
To
approach,
whom you addressed the question to?
from Mr.
Upala.
Rila and Prof. Ida.
Okay.
In the social design approach, I think we are not only talking about knowledge transfer, but how communities can be empowered and actively create knowledge in their environment. In this case, what is the biggest challenge you encourage when doing social design activities in the society, especially in local communities that still uphold cultural values such as villagers in Indonesia? And how do you solve this challenge? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dita, for the question. How do you solve the challenge? Okay, maybe the first question from Abraham to Mr. Rupalat, maybe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions about how Japan can help the informal enterprises to transform to the formal sector. I think we can separate this question into two. One is the kind of intentional policies that Japan can support developing countries like Indonesia or Thailand or other developing countries. So basically, for example, you also in this kind of program, right? Implemented by JICA, and this kind of aids can help you to, create your capabilities or help you to understand more of the social issues and so on. So the similar projects are also implemented to SMEs or people in the rural areas or people who are working in the informal sector. So basically this kind of aids can help these people to increase their capacity, or they can join these capacity building programs in order to be able to use or utilize this digitalization or digital technologies in their businesses or even in their farms. And I think Japan is very strong in this kind of aids. They don't just give away money, but they want you to invest in this kind of knowledge building programs, not like other development agencies. They might just give you grants and then they don't really care what kind of grants that are you using or how did you use the grants. But in JICA, they want to see the real impact of the grants. So that's why most of the time they focus on the capacity building program, on the human resources, or at the organization level, for example, university level and so on. So I think this is the intentional projects that Japan can help informal workers or informal enterprises to transform to this to the formal sector. And another way or another perspective is from the unintentional projects, or not really projects, unintentional aspect. For example, if Japanese companies, they want to invest in Indonesia. Of course, you need to meet certain standards in order to produce parts of cars, or in order to produce some kind of coffee beans that can satisfy the demand or the need of the market in Japan. And if you cannot really satisfy those standards, then of course you cannot really participate in these global value chains. But again, Japan, they really want maybe your coffee beans. So that's why they want to invest in your farmers or your farms or your companies. So they can also implement this kind of capacity building programs, or impose some kind of standards in order to require you to improve your production or improve your knowledge or improve your management in order to join this kind of global value chains. So this is two ways that Japan or other developed countries can help support developing countries in terms of informal sector, in order to try to reduce the proportion of the informal sector and then promote more formal sector. Yes, and for the next question, how to address the issue of accessing the digital technologies, actually is in my last slides, but because I didn't have time to go through. So there are many research on this. So for example, the government can implement like capacity building program, or they can just give you like some of the financial resources in order to help you like to start with this kind of digital technology, such as like email or like computers, like building websites, or how to use Facebook, Instagram, and so on. So this is very like cost effective one. Or they can just have like educational policies, like by educate like people like from the younger age, right? Like in primary school, like how you can use this kind of technologies in order to learn or in order to develop your business models and so on. I think nowadays, like in many countries, they start to educate like their students since like primary education to use this kind of digital technologies in order to learn or in order to build certain kind of knowledge that they can learn or study by themselves in the future. So I think these are some of the features that the government can address the issues. But of course, I think the fundamental issue is the infrastructure. Like if you don't have access to electricity, if you don't have access to the internet, then that's the end, right? Like you cannot really use all these digital technologies because you don't have this basic infrastructure. So this is where the government must invest in order to promote this kind of development like in the rural areas. And I think like in Indonesia, you have many sources of energy, right? So you can use like palm oils, or you can use some kind of hydro electric as well. Like I think one of my students from UNU, like he was studying about this like micro hydro like power generation or something. Like it's very common in the remote areas like in Indonesia, that they have to generate the electricity by themselves because they do not have access to the main grid or the electricity like that provided by the government. So this is where the community itself like can also have initiatives in order to promote the village or the rural areas in order to catch up with this trend of the digitalization as well. So I think that's all for me, but if you have more ideas or more questions, you are more than welcome to discuss later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farad. Okay, the next question. Fajar, it's all clear? Okay, it's all clear. Then we have the third question, maybe Mrs. Rila and Mrs. Ida. Oh, Prof. Ida. Okay, Prof. Ida.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I forgot the name. Siapa namanya lupa tadi? Oh, Dita. Okay, Dita, thank you very much for very critical question on what is actually the biggest challenge for building knowledge and community empowerment in terms of social design. So, I mean, I've been working before I became a lecturer, actually I used to be a researcher as well as a community development specialist working for Center for Information and Development Studies in Jakarta. And I've been working with so many different communities. And I think that community development program is not really something that actually can happen in only one single night or in only one single term or project. So because when we want to have a successful implementation of community development program, we have to develop an appropriate approach to the community because especially in Indonesia, for example, I found out, referring to my latest project on connecting the unconnected in 10 different provinces, I found that the biggest challenge is how we could encourage the participation of the community and how to make them aware about the importance of the program. And to be honest, because I've been working with people from many different regions, I found out that actually it is much more easier working with indigenous community rather than people that actually living in diverse community. Why? Because normally those who live in remote region in the village and have the considered as indigenous community, they are really following and comply with the cultural norm as well as the direction of the head of the culture. So it is not really happening in the more mixed community. So I think in Indonesian context, for example, leadership still very crucial. So if you want to work at the community level, you have to be patient and you have to identify who are actually the most significant actors in development in certain areas, because you will find different areas with different cultures and different actors, and of course you have to develop different strategy to meet with them. So it is not really something easy, but as I told earlier, it is not something impossible. We still can pursue some community work, but we have to make more people involved, and we also have to choose the leader that actually have a concern on the community, because I found out some progressive village actually most of the village will actually lead by a concerned leader. Like the one in Tarumajaya, for example, I conducted research in that area since 2007, and I found out, and I could see the huge difference between the old style of leadership with the new one. The latest one actually more have environmentalist vision, and he also developed a very strong network, not only within the community, but also with other development stakeholders. Because of that strength, so the village actually developed quicker and also could attract more development stakeholders to come to the village and giving some support. So I think in Indonesia, leadership still very crucial at this moment. I think, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ida.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Ida. Can you show the slides again, please? The one with Cheryl Heller. So I haven't talked about this part. Can you go to the next one? Okay, so thank you, Dita, right, for your questions. And I think it's really important to then introduce these slides. So your question is really, really good, if I may say, because for the social designers, we need to know the reason why do we need to do this, right? Is it only for your course? Is it because you really want to help like the communities? And then we need to define like what we are trying to do and what is the context. So I always advise my students to take my theory of community development class, because we learn about like some approaches such as NBCD. I don't know whether you're familiar with this, like needs-based community development and asset-based community development. So many times that we come to the communities acting as if we know more than them, right? Especially, like, for example, the case of Waseda students, they have the pride. Like, I graduated from this best uni, so I will teach you something to change this community. Who will listen to you, right? I mean, if you try to blame people, they will not listen. And they will ask, like, why do you come to our communities, right? So it is really important to come to the community with this understanding. Like, we need to have the reason first. And then we talk to them, putting ourselves as someone who may be, who may help them to, let's say, clarify the issues. We may not be able to offer any solutions. So we are kind of like the facilitator like the mediator. It is, I think, totally arrogant to think that we can solve the problem. That's like the one of the approaches that I mentioned there. Like, we may come to the communities and we may not, like solve any problem at all. But at least we try to show them that if we work together, maybe we can identify a solution, for example. Can you show me the Roppongi one? I'm not sure whether you are familiar with Roppongi, maybe Roppongi class if you're watching Netflix. But the things that I would like to introduce is this area is actually being redeveloped by one famous developer. And then even to talk to the communities, it needs like 40 years. So you can imagine too, like for example, if you want to conduct like social design project, maybe you'll think that, okay, I'll do it this semester and then they'll be free from the poverty, right? And then after that you forget about them. Like I think I remember this guy from the last social design course. Like we talk, we visited the village, we talked to the farmers. Then what is next? You just left them there, you got your A. What did you get for the class? Is it A, B, or? Oh, A, okay. Okay, but there is no guarantee that he will return to, what is the name again? Bantaragung village, right? Yeah, so he said, yeah. So that's kind of our ego, like let's say someone who, let's say, may label ourselves as the expert, right? We come telling them like what to do. We know more than you because we have this certificate, right? Especially, for example, we have this PhD. But can we really solve the problem? It's difficult. They're actually the one who know, like about the locality, not us, okay? If we look at this case, like many projects in Japan actually, they need, let's say like 30 or 40 years to be like this. Like visitors maybe see, oh, like Japan is really sophisticated, Roppongi is really vibrant, but we never know the stories behind that, okay? So my suggestion, if I look at my own experience, I remember being so ignorant and, like thinking that I can solve the problem. I know everything about, because I learned about these theories and stuff, but actually I know nothing about the communities. So we need to think that collaboration is really important, but it doesn't mean that there are actually, like someone that need to be treated by us. We are not the doctor. We're just the mediator. So like we cannot offer the medicine, but we can actually raise the awareness and then try to find the solution together. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rila. Mrs. Rila. Okay, we open one session again. 3 questions. Okay, who you are first? Kita ini udah ya, sudah sana. Do. Okay, yuk. Sorry. sorry. Okay, the first question. And address it to who?
Hello. Hello, my name is Muhammad Nurisan Dikri from Administrasi Publik 2020.
Clearly, please. Spell your name, please.
My name is Muhammad Nurisan Dikri from Administrasi Publik. Check. I have a question for Mr. Upalat.
Oh, Mr. Upalat.
Okay, this question: what strategies could government implements to integrate or formalize part of the informal economy, and what challenges might they face in doing so? And how does the informal economy contribute to the overall employment and livelihoods within community or region? Thank you.
Clear? You need to repeat again? Please repeat once more. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And speak clearly, please. Speak clearly, please.
The question, what strategies could government implement to integrate or formalize part of the informal economy, and what challenge might they face in doing so? And how does the informal economy contribute to the overall employment and livelihood within community or region?
Is it clear?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zikri. Okay, the second question. Okay, you are. Please your name and address it to who? Yeah. Push the button longer.
Thank you, sir. Let me introduce myself. My name is Pinesia Situmorang, PM from Universitas Sumatera Utara. I have a question to Ms. Riela. My question is, considering in experimental approach and continued refinement, is social design better side from implementation in government sector or direct community movement? Thank you, sir.
Is it clear? Okay. Okay, thank you. And the third question? No. Siapa ini? Elvis. Okay, Elvis. Yes, Elvis. Go on, Elvis.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Elvis, and I want to ask especially for Ms. Prof. Ida.
Prof. Ida, okay.
Yeah. How we keep sustainable development still sustainable? As we know, according to Rosenblum theory, public administration is law, management, and politics. And if we see the reality, if the president is changed to someone else, and all of the rule, all of the government will be changed. And even Ministry of Village and Rural Affairs formed in 2014 also by political act. And the most effective program from that ministry is Dana Desa, or village funding, is also a political act. And how we keep that sustainable if the next election the president is changed. And I want to know in Japan too, how to keep sustainable development still sustainable in the changes of the leader. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Elvis. And I'm sorry, I have a question. So you address this to Prof. Ida or to all of the speaker? To all of the speaker. To all the speaker. Is okay? Okay? Is it okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, the first question from Dikri to Mr. Upalat. What is strategy to from lies? Maybe. Okay, thanks, yours.
Thank you very much for your question. It's very, I think it's very challenging one, and very good one actually, very thought-provoking. So I really love my stance to ask me questions like this as well. So for the strategies that the government can do to promote formalization. So before we implement any policies, we need to know why people want to remain in the informal sector, or why they have no choice but have to remain in the informal sector, right? So what are the reasons behind? So basically, actually from my presentation, I think I didn't have time to cover everything, but there are 4 main causes of informal enterprises. First one is awareness. So maybe people, they don't really have awareness about the benefits of being formal or being formal enterprises. So the government might want to tackle about this awareness by raising the awareness, just try to do some propaganda, what are the benefits of being formal, or what are the benefits of being in the formal sector, and what are the causes of being informal. And after people got informed all these informations, then they have the information to make the decision that can affect your need, or can comply to your needs or their status in the sector, right? And the second cause is the business nature. Some businesses, they might not be able to join the formal sector because they might do something illegal. Of course, they cannot be in the formal sector. or they might do something like seasonal. So it's not worth for them to like apply for all these, you know, like documents or change all their production process in order to, you know, like do some activities or business only certain period of time. For example, like maybe farmers, like they cultivate rice only 6 months and then other months they going to do something else. So they don't really think it's worth for them like to be in the formal sector, because it requires so much time and efforts and also costs in order to transform from the informal sector to formal sector. And the second one about the capability. So enterprises with insufficient capability in finance, technology, and human resources, mainly digital, financial, and accounting literacy, might find it very difficult for them, like in order to moving towards the formal enterprises, like sphere or like to the formal sector. So if we see this kind of problems like among the enterprises, then the government can just simply tackle like in terms of like raising their financial literacy or accounting literacy, digital literacy, or just help them with all this like capacity buildings program in order to overcome this kind of challenges for those enterprises who are not ready to transform themselves into the formal sector. And the last cause is about the incentive. So when people make any decision, we tend to compare between benefits and costs, right? If the costs are higher than our benefits, then of course we don't want to go for that option. Then we want to maximize our profit or our benefits. So this is just 101 like economic like assumption, right? People want to maximize their utility or their profits. So if like informal like employers or employees, they see that like being in the formal sector, they have to incur a very high costs, like they have to adjust all the accounting system, they have to comply like all the rules and laws, and then they have to create all the documents which require them like so much time, efforts, and you know financial resources. Then they might just opt to be in the informal sector, or they just remain in the informal sector because they don't see any benefits to move to the formal sector. So this is where the government have to come in and then try to reduce all these transaction costs in order to move from informal sector to the formal sector. And I guess like the challenges would be how, right? So how can you incentivize people in order to see the benefits of being in the formal sector, not in the informal sector. So this is the main challenges that the government have to figure out, and what kind of the fundamental problems that local people or local enterprises have, and why they still remain in the informal sector. Yeah, I think I cover all the questions you asked, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to add. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rupalat. Next question.
Okay.
From Bianca.
Is it Bianca or Bianca? Cha? Biancia?
Huh? Sorry.
Dinencia. Oke, Dinencia. Sorry ya. Oke, dari USU ya, dari itu. Halo. So thank you, Dinencia, for your questions. So I think this is really interesting because many people actually ask this question, like, who should start social design project? Like, is it much better for us to actually like apply this in the government or like the communities first? So as mentioned in the approach of social design, like everyone can be a designer. So it doesn't matter. So if, for example, that the government can initiate the social design project, and also the community can initiate it, and there is no such answers like which one is more effective? Like I cannot give you that answer, but as long as like the initiator has the willingness, intention, commitment, and energies, that will do. Yeah. I hope this actually answering your questions because, frankly speaking, I don't have the right answer to that. It depends on the communities, it depends on the initiators, and also it depends on your collaborators. So, for example, if you're doing it like collectively, but then the other teammates, they don't have the same energies with you, it's impossible actually to carry out the projects. I think that even during your group work, you notice that, oh, this guy is a free rider, I don't want to work with him again, right? It's the same in the social design project as well. Okay, I hope this actually answers your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sila.
And
And the
more?
last question. Oh,
Like
the last,
one
okay.
more for, is it Elvis?
From Elvis, okay.
Yeah, nice name, I like it. Yeah. So like the question is how to keep sustainable development sustainable in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, is it that? Yeah, that's actually quite difficult questions, but I would like to relate this to my research because I mentioned before that I'm conducting a research on the urban archaeological sites in Tokyo, right? So probably you can guess the reason why did I actually want to do the research on archaeological sites. I'm not sure whether you are actually visiting the lake, was it like Danau, I just Googled this one. Danau Bandung, like ancient Lake Bandung. Have you visited that one? So, because I think it's pretty rare, I mean, among young Indonesians to visit museums, like archaeological sites, but in Japan, I noticed that many of my colleagues, my friends, my neighbors, they often visit this type of sites, so I was wondering why. And then, I think like one of the reasons is because they can learn about, like the ancient wisdom. And then like, I noticed that the, let's say the institutions, they employ various creative approaches to actually attract more people to learn about the sustainability. It's not something foreign, it's something that our ancestors already, like had. For example, like I'm researching about Jomong civilization, so maybe you can Google that later. And I think it's really interesting how, like they had some values that are still relevant even to, today's situation. And then I was wondering how actually like the archaeological sites can, like make themselves relevant to modern living, because let's say we cannot live without, let's say this Wi-Fi, right? Like we always Google things. I don't remember my own phone number. I have to check it all the time. But that's how fragile we are. And I noticed that in Japan, they try to harness, like this urban resilience through, let's say, like the introduction of ancient wisdoms, and also like the education to sustainability. So I think in Japan, everything really starts from a simple thing, small thing, and that's what I really like about Japan, how they value, like anything, even like the small animal, like even the grass, so they will carefully take care of that kind of creature. But let's say in Indonesia, maybe if you look at like beautiful flowers, you just want to pick it, right? But in Japan, like nobody really do that, because they know that it contains spirit, they have to respect it. So I think this is the values that have been, let's say like preserved so far and passed through generations. And I think this is also related to Dita's questions, like how to preserve the cultural values and also deal with it. So we need to remember that they survive because they practice that culture, that traditions. So as an outsider, we need also to think whether our present is actually disturbing, like the practice that they've been doing so far, and whether if we introduce, like a new culture, or let's say like a modification, will it actually benefit us or, like the community itself? So we need to ask that kind of question. Yeah, I hope that I can answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think I have to address the last question. That's a very good question, but this is not one single answer for that, because if we talk about sustainable development, this is actually a very complex and multi-dimensional concept. It means that if you are worried about the regime change and policy change, I don't think you should worry about it, because if you look at the policy further, I don't think any one single government really don't have any ideas on sustainable development. So I think that we couldn't rely on the government only. So as Professor Rila also mentioned that because of the complexity of the sustainable development agenda, we need everyone to work together. We need all of you, we need you as a student to work with us, with the community, to do small thing, and we will achieve greater in the future. So, because even though, for example, the recent government, probably in some policy, they have a very good policy that actually propose SDGs, Sustainable Development Agendas, but sometimes we also can see some of the policy actually opposing another policy. So this is why it is important to build resilience in the community. It is important to introduce the ideas of the climate change, sustainable development goals issue into higher education and lower education. So education is critical for everyone to understand how important it is to work together to address the sustainable development issue. Because, I mean, that you couldn't rely on one regime. And if you look at the problem of sustainable development, sustainability, most of the time, actually, the government itself, they have to change the policy. Yeah, because like now, for example, when we know the El Nino, for example, approaching Indonesia and creating the problem on the food security, so the government should change the policy on that. Yeah, so change and in policy and governance is a must. But what we have to remember is we have to support anybody, whether they are in the government or students or in any group of the community that actually have good concern on environment. We need a good government, we need a good individual, we need good organization who has concern on environment. And we have to start from ourselves. Yeah? And this is not good to have this kind of plastic here. Yeah, this is not good. I mean that I encourage the student to use the bottle, and we have to limit the use of the something that actually very difficult to recycle. Yeah, the faculty also will try to. I mean that we've been talking about this with my dean last week. We concerned because the dean just returned from South Africa and visiting UNEP and UN Habitat. And we discussed about the recent research that actually found there are some plastic particles in our air, you know. So we are breathing some plastic into our chest, all right? So this is why, this is us who have to stop it, okay? We couldn't ask for the government on their own. And theoretically, policy change and also politics, you know, the voice of the voiceless should be heard and should be delivered. If you just silent, there won't be any change. Yeah. Okay, so don't worry about the change of the regime. The important thing is we hope that the new regime will fill up by good people that actually have concern and of environment, that understand that climate change is real. And all of you, I hope some of you also try to work on environment and try to do research on environment and be part of it, not only rely on somebody else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Ida. The last answer from Professor Ida, that's how the discussion session ends. Please giving the best applause to all speakers. Okay, it means the session in the second session is over. Thank you to the speakers, our best speakers. Thank you very much. And also the audience who attend this activity. Thank you very much. Special Professor Budiman Rusli, thank you for attending this meeting. Professor Heru, Dr. Ahmad Buhori, Ibu Nina Karlina, and all of lecturers. Thank you. Let me give a summary of this activity. Let's start social design with a small step of the locals. Shifting in formal economic sector to formalization to access GVCs digitally, and let's together collaborate, keep the balance, realizing the inclusive development concept for the better world. Okay. Thank you for attention. Hopefully it will be useful for all of us until we meet at the next meeting. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you all. I return time and place to MC. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for the moderators and our speaker for today's event. And for that, we would like to thank more with the certificates of recognition for the moderator and speaker who have accompanied us at Joint Lecture Social Design 3.0. We would like to invite Dr. Nina Carlina, SIP MSI, to provide a certificate to the moderator and to Professor Ida Widyaningsi, MA PhD. And we would like to invite Professor Dr. Budiman Rusli to provide a certificate and token to Mrs. Riela Providiandra, PhD, and Mr. Upalat Korwatana Sakul, PhD. Thank you very much, Dr. Nina Carlina, Professor Dr. Budiman Rusli, and also thank you very much to moderator and our speakers in this session. Please stay at the stage because we will take a picture first. And now, please to turn around and face the screen, and we would like to ask the participant to stand up and join the photo session.
Yang di pinggir bisa merapat ke tengah.
Thank you very much for all the participants that has been participating for the photo session. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
We will coming for Professor Ida. Professor Ida, Professor Ida, would you like to give some souvenir for our students that involved in the discussion? And please also Professor Rila and also Professor Upalat, give the souvenirs for the student.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the photo session has ended, we also have reached the end of today's event. We would like to thank you for your participation and enthusiasm. We also apologize if there are any shortcomings on the implementation of today's activity. I am Savitri Kartika Yutantri. Thank you. Hatur nuhun. Arigato gozaimasu. Good afternoon and have a great day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Teman-teman mahasiswa, sebentar ada beberapa pengumuman. Pertama, Prof. Rila ingin berfoto dengan teman-teman yang kemarin di Majalengka. Ayo silakan ke depan. Kemudian yang kedua, teman-teman 2020, setelah ini istirahat sebentar untuk sholat asar. Kemudian kami tunggu di Balai Rucita untuk International Workshop Social Design 3.0 ya. Terima kasih. Yang 2021 boleh pulang. Dan mahasiswa PMM, oh sorry. Ya Majalengka, Fatan, Rama, jam 4.
Nggak tahu. Bapak. Dapat dari apa?
Papa, nyalain dulu biar nggak gelap. Udah.
Iya ibu, dari sini. Video. Bentar. Kenapa? Pucat banget.
Makasih ya, Dan. Kalau nanti ada apa-apa lagi. Lu kalau persiapan tanggal 13 kalau nggak ada ya? Ulang tahun fisik. Kalau nggak ada. 13 itu hari Jumat.
Oh.
Pagi-pagi soalnya.
Jumat soalnya tadi kosong terus jadi